Enforcement across Wisconsin continue to mourn the loss of a Saint Croix County Sheriff's deputy who lost her life in the line of duty this weekend.
29-year-old Katie Leasing was reportedly shot after responding to a report of a drunk driver Saturday night. Leasing approached the ditch where the car was found belonging to 34-year-old Jeremiah Johnson and asked him to participate in a field sobriety test. After about 8 minutes of talking, Johnson shot Leasing and fled the scene. Johnson has not been confirmed to be found, but another gunshot was heard in the nearby woods an hour after the incident, and a handgun was discovered shortly after. Leasing later died after being sent to the hospital. Procession was held for Leasing Sunday night, and various departments across the state sent their condolences. Tonight, law enforcement in northeast Wisconsin say the loss of any Wisconsin officer and deputy hits close to home. Holly Brantley now live at the Green Bay Police Department with reaction from local authorities on this most recent tragedy. Holly.
Right, officers say losing 4 members of law enforcement this year is really tough to take. Now they call on fellow officers and communities to come together to support each other at this very difficult time. Officer Peter Jerving, Emily Breidenbach, Hunter Scheel, Deputy Katie Leasing, 4 members of Wisconsin law enforcement killed in 2023 in the line of duty. That is the second highest in the nation, according to the OfficerDownMemorialPage.org.
Wherever you go, the policing profession is kind of like a family, and so when an incident like that happens, even on the other side of the state, it impacts all of us here as well.
In Green Bay, Police Chief Chris Davis says he knows losing Deputy Katie Leasing will be quite a heavy burden for the Saint Croix County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Leasing was shot and killed Saturday by a suspected drunk driver. The driver later turned the gun on himself.
Really, after something like that happens, so the focus needs to be on the survivors there, the family members first and foremost, and then the organization and the local policing community.
Chief Davis says he's thankful Wisconsin has a law enforcement death response team to assist departments during a tragedy.
When something like this happens, it's just managing the response for the agency where it happens can be overwhelming.
In Menasha, Chief Nick Thorne says it's hard to put the impact of Leasing's death into words.
It certainly is sad. We are second in the nation currently, right behind Louisiana, I believe, in terms of law enforcement officers that have been killed in the line of duty.
Next week is Police Week, something Chiefs Thorne and Davis say is now more important than ever to observe, a time when officers gather to pay homage to those who gave their lives in the line of duty.
Continuing to advocate for police officers, sheriff's deputies, continuing to have that active voice in our communities. Specific to next week, do something nice for your local law enforcement agencies. Thank you cards. Treats are always welcome. So just really embracing our local law enforcement heroes.
And I did hear from members of the law enforcement death response team. They do have teams in Saint Croix County right now, also with Police Week next week. Local departments really call on communities to come together with them and pay honor and respect to those who have paid the ultimate price. Live in Green Bay, Holly Brantley, Action 2 News.